Well, greetings. It's good to be back with you this week for our weekly financial roundtable. Remember, money isn't the most important thing in life, but it is like oxygen on the gotta have it scale. So this is a time each week for us to gather on financial related matters and matters that directly or indirectly affect your prosperity. So I'm from Qnity. We're here to help you not only earn more money, but do what you love and have great quality of life. Prosperity, as we define it for an enterprise, is about great culture, high profit, and a competitive edge. And take what's confusing, complicated, overwhelming for a more clear path to prosperity, whatever that means for you, with an approach that's simple, visual, and actionable. And to prosper, manage your ATM, your attention, time, and money. And it's not lost on me and us that your time is precious. So thank you for joining us today and for joining us for this weekly roundtable. It's a time to gather and share. Our last guest was 2 weeks ago. It was James Griffith with a great share about human capital and recruitment and retention and conversations that he'd been having with key members of his team. So I really felt that was a great session. James and I had been talking about the subject for a couple months, so it was great to have him a couple weeks ago. Today, we are going to go through part 1 of 2 to 10 highlights, which was last week. It actually wasn't over the weekend. It was the previous Monday and Tuesday. We were in Chicago. We had about 130 leaders gather from 50 different companies, all multi-location. We covered the 5 different functions through a variety of different mechanisms, primarily through roundtables, in-person roundtables, and how wonderful it was and it is to be in person with people, because the quality of the interaction, although I love seeing all of you virtually, it's just there's nothing like face to face. So it was a very special time. And I realized there is a fear of missing out. There's FOMO. Not all of you were there. Hey, you're not the Lone Ranger. I have a fear of missing out because I didn't actually get to see all the roundtables. So part of today is for selfish reasons for me and other members of the 2 to 10 community, because there was about almost 40 conversation starters. And so anyway, what we'll do today is do some roundtable recaps. And we're going to be doing this in some upcoming weeks also. And so conversation starters, these are just a few of them. Conversation starters, as well as other people that contributed to the event. It was awesome. It was amazing. Some great shares. We also had the moderators. These are the ones, or facilitators, excuse me, the ones that facilitated the roundtables. And I asked them, who were some of the shining stars or some of the shining moments, some of the shares that we felt would be relevant for all of our community. And of course, there's so many, all of them could be shared. But what we decided is that we pick 3 people to join us today. They graciously agreed to join us. We have Tammy Coakley, who's here to share with us about human capital. She is from Spa Blue in Illinois. We also have Kevin Perryman from Paris Parker in Louisiana, who will do a share on education. And then finally, we have Anita Holly from Modern Salon and Spa from North Carolina, doing a marketing share. We hope and believe that you'll have some light bulb moments today, and that you might be able to connect some dots into prosperity for you. You should have a 9-grid that was sent to you in advance. 9-grid is there as a visual tool to help you either mind map, storyboard, or create a step-by-step for what's next for you. So hope you have some light bulb moments. Past recordings are posted in the Plan for Profits portal and on YouTube. We also do have a roundtable today at noon for schools, noon Central Time. We will have 2 of the 3 guests joining us again. Tammy will be joining us again with the same share. Kevin Perryman, because he double dipped, he had actually two shares at the 2 to 10 conference. His topic is going to switch to inclusion and diversity and how that relates to your service menu. For the second roundtable. So Kevin's topic will change for the school roundtable. So we're going to be welcoming these 3 amazing individuals to our Brain Trust, which is a growing group of contributors. which we're so grateful for over the last 61 weeks. So with that, I am going to ask that Tammy come off mic. I'm sorry, come off mute. And Tammy, if we can see you, that's great. If you're on camera, there you are. You got a big halo over you there.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get rid of that light. Let me see if it, I don't know.
Let's see. Maybe you can, I think that's going to be a little better right there, Tammy.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just noticed it and I was trying to avoid it, but anyways.
It's all good. Again, thanks for joining us. So Tammy, you're in Illinois, in the, I guess it would be fair to say the western, slightly north, more western suburbs of Chicago area. You currently have 2 locations, is that right?
Yes, it is. Correct.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I mean, when we first invited you to be a conversation starter, the topic that you came up with was an amazing topic, one that generated an immediate light bulb for me. And I knew that members of not only the 2 to 10 community, but pretty much everybody should really hear about your share. So anyway, your share relates with human capital, and it has to do with what's called a care team. So, and this is really about providing resources to members of your team, and as we're finding out, perhaps actually even clients, through something called, I think the correct term is care team. Is that right?
Yes, that's how we describe it in Salon. It's a marketplace care team. It could also be called a marketplace chaplain team, but we choose to call it a care team for our salons.
So basically, what are we addressing with this? What is the problem we're solving here?
Yeah, so what we've noticed since we've come back from COVID is that our team is really struggling a lot, and I think our guests are too. I know our leadership team was struggling with how to sometimes handle and help, which, you know, as a leader, you're always trying to do what's best for them, try to make sure that you're there for them. But sometimes some of the situations are just too deep and too heavy for us to handle properly. And I had a situation where I had a team member come to me with severe depression. And prior to that, I was reaching out to some local counselors and trying to see if we could partner and do some type of, you know, just give them a referral when they do come to us. And we weren't getting anywhere with that. So when she came to me, I again reached out, and she had told me she had to wait 30 days to get into her therapist or a therapist. And at that point, I just felt like, you know, that's just not going to cut it for our salon. And especially if I need our team to be healthy, and caring for others is, you know, very, very difficult at times. And I think, you know, even more so, you know, our guests are always sharing with us in the salon and spa because it's a safe place. But I think after COVID, some of the situations were just getting too heavy.
So basically, needs weren't and can't be met by members of the mental health community that could really respond at a level of urgency, is what I'm hearing. So you were able to address this with this program. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was referred to it, and I looked right into it same day, and I loved what they were saying. You know, they're kind of, the way they consider themselves as a first responder. So they are able to be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the team downloads an app, and they can call them, FaceTime them, they'll meet with you. So there's all kinds of ways to connect. And basically they will talk them through whatever. If they need more help than they can offer, then they partner with them until they find the help that they need. So they'll work with them trying to find the right person for them as well. So it's not just, you know, it's not just a call and a one and done. They work with you to get what you need if they cannot help you, if it's too big of a problem for them as well.
And then, so in order to be part of this, do you subscribe? Do you become a member, or how does this work?
Yeah, so basically when we signed up, it's a per person price. So it ends up being about $8.95 a person, which ends up costing our company about $550 a month.
Okay.
So it's free to the team. So if the team needs them, there's no cost involved, as well as our guests. So we are able to refer them out to our guests. If we have a guest that's struggling, we can refer them out and they have that same option.
Okay, let me clarify. So then the pricing, because oftentimes people are going to ask for clarity in the pricing. So the pricing is based upon the head count of your team, but it's also available to clients. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how do they do that? So and how many team members do you have then?
So we have between 60 and 65 right now.
So they base the pricing on your head count of your team. And so this is the piece where I'm a little bit confused. So how do customers fit into this too? That's part of the subscription?
It is part of the subscription, yes.
That's so I'm just thinking through this from, let's stay with team first, okay? Because I think that's like the crux of really why you brought them in. It's almost like this being available for guests become almost like the byproduct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really what you want to do is take care of your team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And have team members used this service?
Yeah. So before we even rolled it out, we had some teams that were, I told them about the, new benefit that we were offering, and I let them know if they needed something sooner than I could, get everything set up to reach out to me. So I made a couple different connections. One was one of our team members' husband that was really struggling, and then another couple team members. So I made the introduction. They handled it right away. They had someone in contact with them right away, and the girls thanked me.
So this then extends to family members and spouses too, is that right?
Yeah, so anybody in the family can utilize it, in your immediate family as well.
And the members of your team that use this service, they had a good experience with it?
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. It is confidential, so unless our team members tell me, I won't know if they're using it. The only time the confidentiality is broken is if they're in danger to themselves or somebody else.
Yeah,
I will know, how many people use it after, some time. They'll start giving me reports on how many, but not who.
So this is really quite amazing because it deals with, there's so many issues these days, just getting help. And I mean, I'm thinking in terms of not just mental health, but like get in line for a lot of different things,
Mm-hmm.
And so what this does is it really acknowledges that time is of the essence and that people can't wait to get in because, they, in many cases, they could be in harm's way, right?
Right, absolutely. And they do stop in the salon once a week, so the team members get to know them a little better, which has been really nice.
Now you did this share in the human capital room at 2 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going from room to room and room and in each function. And every time I came back into the room, you were still sharing because there were so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the questions that came up that maybe, I haven't thought to ask you? I mean, what were some of the things that your peers were asking during your share?
Well, it is like I said, there's a chaplain part of it. So I know there was some concerns if they're diverse or if their beliefs are lined up with others. And that was one of my concerns as well, because I know we're all different in where we come from and our spiritual beliefs. And so that is a big thing that they pride themselves on as well, is that, they don't preach religion or anything that unless the topic comes up and they want to talk about it. Other than that, there's no judgment. There's no, you don't have to be have a certain belief for them to help you. So that was just one of the big questions. How diverse are they? And we got a great team. We got connected with our people. We have 2 females and 1 male that are assigned to our team. They're very diverse. One's bilingual, and then the others are diverse as well. So it's nice. It's a perfect fit for our team, actually.
Linnell put something up, good morning, Linnell, that they have an EAP program through their insurance that's similar for their students. So do you have something, and I think that, do you also have an EAP program also? This is on top of that, is that right?
So the girls have insurance, yes, but I feel like where my concern was that this company builds connections with people, because I find that sometimes it's a little scary just to randomly call somebody. So I like the fact that they're in-house. They don't interrupt us. They just walk through. If anyone's open, without a guest, I'll make the introduction. We gave them specifically what our expectations are as a company. And I like the fact that there's a face and a name with, the person. But yes, we do have other things, but I just didn't see them being utilized, and maybe, I just didn't see them being utilized.
Now, if anybody has any questions or want to put anything in the chat, questions, comments, please go ahead, because we're gonna wrap up in just a moment here. This is a really important and impactful share. Other questions just about other things that come to mind. Is there like a minimum time frame you have to commit to? Is this like a year commitment, or
It is a year contract. They said that a lot of times, people don't always start using it right away. So they like you to sign a year contract, but they also were very much, if things really aren't working out, there's definitely options on how to, exit the plan if you're not utilizing it.
Are there any other key questions that came out at 2 to 10 that really, was on other people's minds?
I know I had one question, was if they're certified counselors, and they are certified, but they're not necessarily full-time professional counselors. They do go through a certification program with the company, and they do have some certifications, but they're not licensed counselors or social workers.
All right. Well, Tammy, this is amazing. And I know there was a lot of interest in this at 2 to 10. A lot of people were asking you a ton of questions. I know you're very passionate about this. And I know that when we first talked to you about being a conversation starter, this is immediately where you went to. So I have to commend you for coming up with this and addressing proactively in a new and a different way than maybe what we're used to help provide the resources that people need. So let's all give Tammy a virtual round of applause. Give her a couple comments in the chat there. We will officially welcome you to the Brain Trust, and you will have a light bulb coming. So Tammy, thanks again. Okay, and I know stick around as long as you like today, but we're going to have you back on at noon. So
all right, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Kevin Perryman. Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Let's get you. Let's see and hear you. Here he comes. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, good morning.
And you come to us from Louisiana.
That's
Are
right.
you in New Orleans, or where are you down there?
In New Orleans.
You're in New Orleans. All right. Well, you guys have had some. You've had some. What is the right term? You've had some weather down there.
Yeah.
Bit of an understatement,
Right.
but it didn't prevent you from being at 2 to 10. And I remember talking to you about being a conversation starter, and I couldn't decide which share because you had 2 really good ones. So we're going to do one right now. And so you're director of staff engagement for the Paris Parker salons, 8 locations, plus a barbershop, plus another barbershop coming.
Yeah.
And you've been there 4 years. I think you moved there from Tennessee or something like that, was it? Or
I did, from Nashville. Yeah.
All right. Well, this was your second 2 to 10, and we had you scheduled to do a share in March, but for all of us, it took a little bit longer. So thanks for joining us last week.
Yeah, my pleasure.
You know, so education is the function that we're going to talk about with you. And and in particular, just to kind of get to the punchline, it has to do with new hire training and how you went from about a year process down to 10 weeks.
Mhm.
And I know I got some details when we spent a little bit of time prepping a few weeks ago, but I didn't really get to hear your share, but it's quite amazing. So take us through it here. So what was the reason why you wanted to address the time frame for new hire training?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Tom. Hello, everyone. Yes, so it was taking our new artists roughly a year to get through a program, which was just too long for us. And I know many salon owners can identify with that. A lot happens within that 1 year. Sometimes they get disengaged. Sometimes they feel frustrated. It was hard for us to manage the progress of their technical training. So we needed to tighten it up and make it shorter and make it effective and not risk quality in their training. So we came up with a 10-week program, and I can walk you through what that looks like. Our first week, when we welcome them in, we take them through what we call immersion, and it's a 4-day, just a deep dive into our culture and what they can expect of the program. We spend a couple of days on product knowledge, and we start to develop and get them in the mindset of developing their soft skills, which is how you talk to guests, how you stand, what your station looks like, the tools that you use, all of those things that set you up for success as a hairdresser. So then our second week, we go into what we call blow dry boot camp. And it's a very, very intense 8 hours a day, 5 days a week of where they're learning from start to finish, blow drying. And then it includes what we've just developed into our program, texture training. And it is so intense that we feel confident that at the end of that week, we can start to put them on the floor to book styling appointments. And this would be for paying guests. If for any reason we don't feel like they're quite ready, we do take a few more days to really intensify that training again. But again, our goal is to get them on the floor and start utilizing the things that they've just learned over these past 2 weeks. So then we go into our third week, which is a couple of days of styling updo training. Now, that's not one we put so much emphasis on and getting them on the floor to do, but we do want to build off of what they learned the week before in learning how to put hair up. So that's a skill set that they'll continue to learn. We won't necessarily open them up right away to do that. And then our our fourth week is where we get busy. It is hardcore, 3 days a week. And I'll use our cutting program as an example. So on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, for 8 hours a day, they'll begin to learn a series of techniques. You guys know, as salon owners, what that entails. It's bobs, it's long layers, it's men's cuts, all of that within a curriculum. And then they've, quote, graduated from what we call that process, which is Fundamentals 1. And then we assess their work and begin putting them on the floor. So I'll pause there because there is a second stage to this, but you might want to ask some questions, Tom, with just that first stage.
Well, so they're producing revenue as early as the third week, is it?
Yes, on styling. Yep.
And how in the past, when did they start producing revenue?
We would wait until they were completely finished with the program in its entirety to even put them on the floor to meet a paid guest.
A year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so basically it's going from 52 weeks approximately. I realize there's a little variation down to like week 3.
Right.
And so everybody's got to be happy, right?
Yes, and scared out of their minds, some of them, which is to be expected. So we have to put some quality control and allow them to feel comfortable and allow our guests to feel comfortable in that process for sure.
So let's get back into sequence, but you just mentioned quality control. That begs a question here. What does that look like, quality control on those early days?
Yes, so it's really just going back to the techniques that they're learning, and it's up to our educator to establish that they are ready to start performing the services.
Now, do you start in groups? So this would be a group of people that would all start together during this 10-week process?
Yes, yes.
And then how often would you be starting a group approximately?
Yeah, we start a new round of the 10-week training 3 times a year.
Okay, that's pretty clear. So let's go through the rest of the cycle then. This is
Okay.
great, by the way, because I didn't get a chance to hear this, and I'm totally digging this, and we're getting some great questions, but keep going. You're on a roll here.
Okay, cool. So we call the end of that 10 weeks our first stage. So then we're going to jump into second stage. So now they've been trained on styling, blow drying, and now they've gotten, I'm using the cutting program as an example. So they're trained through their cutting program. Okay, so our second stage involves inviting guests into our salon for a free service. So during the pandemic, we were ramping up to gain new business. And as you know, when we opened salons up, here they all came. Here came our guests and their friends and their family and their pets and everybody they wanted to bring in, right? So it reached a high, and then we started to dip a little bit, and we're wondering, where is everyone? What's going on? So we used that dip as an opportunity to say, hey, look, Louisiana community, we'd love to invite you in and see what Paris Parker is all about, and we're going to do it free of charge, and come in and have a great experience. Smell the aromas, feel all the feels, leave with a great feeling about who we are and your hair. And so what we did is once we got back up to speed, we didn't necessarily have to continue offering that to the outside public, but we did want to utilize that opportunity for our new hires to begin getting trained. So we kept the promo going, and we repositioned it as guests come into a quote learning environment to where these new artists are able to practice on a real head of hair and continue to develop all the things that encompass being a great hairdresser. Soft skills, recommending product, take home product, pre-booking, all of the things that go into it. And they're getting to practice that on a real live person. So we do have an educator that oversees that process. So again, they're there for quality control and to make sure that the guest understands that it is an educational environment, and we're happy to have them, and they're just making sure everything runs smooth.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what that's doing is that's taking them from their fundamentals 1 classroom into real life training. Now this is not a paid service, so they're not on the floor generating income with these free haircuts. However, they are getting further and further and further, getting comfortable to be able to open themselves up for paid haircuts, but they are still within this process able to book these styling appointments, which is generating income for them.
Now you got a couple questions here. One is from Megan. Good morning, Megan. Good to see you on this morning. She asked, curious if you're departmentalized, and you did mention they're going through cutting, and it was conspicuously absent as color when you were talking about that. So answer that question for us, please.
Sure. Yeah, I love that question. We give them an option. If you want to departmentalize and only cut or only color, you can certainly do that. If you do choose to do both, we'll have you go through the cutting program or the color program first, and then you'll jump into the next discipline on the next round.
Okay. Karen, good morning, Karen from Fort Collins. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. Do they work on mannequins or models? She asks.
Great question. I love this. So in their Fundamentals 1 training, they're 3-day a week. That is mannequin work. However, they are able to, within that week, once they get up to speed and the educator feels comfortable in their ability, within that time frame, they can bring in real life people and work on the same things just as they would a mannequin. But we don't require that. We encourage it for sure, because that's of course the best way to learn. But again, we're working on technique, and that's the most important thing for us at that time.
James, good morning, James Griffith, that is. Do full-time stylists have an apprentice assigned to them to help them with their guests?
Yes, they do. Yes, so he may be wondering, James, you might be wondering if within their week, those 3 days they're in class, and what do they do with the other 2 days? One day would be them open for styling guests, and then another day would be to assist someone in the salon.
So I've got a few other questions, but I want to make sure that you take to completion, a summary of the program and the time frame.
Yeah. I think I explained most of it. So after this free promo time frame is, once the educator feels that they are just ready to go, they're giving great experiences, getting good feedback, they've worked on pre-booking, take-home care, and all of those things, they'll graduate and be on the floor as a new artist at a new artist price, and they are set to go. Now, what we do is we open them up only 3 days a week at start to take paying guests. And then we'll continue to assist the other 2 days. Our goal within that time frame is that we want them to get 80% booked before we open a 4th and a 5th day, because we don't want them standing around, getting discouraged, leaving the building, taking 5 smoke breaks a day, those types of things. So we want to keep it tight and allow them to use what they've learned to start building their business. So we take it in 3-week time periods. So let's say they're open their first week, they've completed this new artist program, they're open for 3 days a week. Within the 3 days a week, for 3 consecutive weeks, they're 80% booked. We open up a 4th day. We watch that 4th day in that time period, another 3 weeks. If they're 80% booked within that time frame, then you're a full-time stylist, you're open on the floor, congratulations, you're a badass hairdresser, and we're rocking and rolling. And then from there, we just continue tracking your metrics every 6 months to be able to get a price increase and move on to the next level.
So recruitment obviously is a big issue with everybody today. Are you finding that it's easier to recruit with this type of structure?
Yes, very much so. Because as we know, unfortunately, in hair school, they're not coming out of school, with very much knowledge, especially up to our standards. We're high-end salons. So yes, this is a very attractive package to be able to recruit with, for sure.
All right, Carrie wants to know, good morning, Carrie. Are they being paid hourly during this time frame?
Yes, great question. We start them out the beginning of the 10 weeks at $7.50 an hour, which is minimum wage here in Louisiana. Once they get through those 10 weeks, they've gone through their classroom work, and they're graduating to the second stage, which is taking these free promos. At that time, after that 10 weeks, we bump them up to $10 an hour.
Got it. Keep going.
Oh, and yeah, that was
Okay.
the question.
Good morning, Roman. This, I think, will be the last question. Would you say the objective of the training system is to train new stylists? He says, where is assisting to the existing stylists prioritized in that structure?
So that's a really good question. We have designated educators to take them through this very focused training. Their time working in the salon with our other seasoned hairdressers is a bonus, if that makes sense. So yes, the priority is to get them through and get them trained and comfortable.
Yeah, got it. That's awesome. Well, Kevin, This is great. Guys, please, let's give Kevin a virtual round of applause. Kevin, you are officially awarded the $1 million light bulb for your entree into the Brain Trust. You're such a good guy, Kevin, and I know the work you do makes a big impact. So thank you, and I appreciate you allow me to draft you to to join us. And then you're going to be with us in the school roundtable. And just real quick, what are we going to be talking about on the school roundtable?
Yeah, so earlier I mentioned within our blow dry boot camp, we incorporated texture training. And so in our next share, I'll talk about how that even came to be and what we felt like our responsibility was to the industry and to our community to put that on our styling menu and make it a priority.
All right. Can't wait. So we'll see you in about an hour and 20 minutes. So bravo, Kevin. Thanks again. Give this guy a shout out, will you?
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Right. All right, Anita. Last but not least, how are you, Anita?
I'm doing well. How are you, Tom?
Well, good. I mean, I had met Kevin before. I had met Tammy before, and I had not met you until 2 to 10. And interestingly enough, I was preparing one of your peers at Modern. And by the way, I should say where you're from. So you're at Modern Salon and Spa. You've got 4 locations in the Charlotte area. You are director of marketing. You've been there 5 years. And you mentioned that you're from the University of South Carolina originally. So, okay. And so we drafted you because I was talking to Paige from your team, and she said that, look at Ann Whaler, go Gamecocks. You got it. You got what you were looking for. All right, you got it. Annie played right into that. And Paige was talking about you, so I got to talk to this person. And you had, like Kevin, you actually had 2 different shares. And so what we're going to go through today is the power of ask, and it has to do with Google reviews, right?
It does. It does.
All right. So take us through this now. What is the, so it's about accelerating Google reviews. Is that what it is?
It is. So just a little background on how this came to fruition. Earlier this year, we noticed a severe downtick in our reviews on Google, which basically affects every day in the modern world of marketing. Your ranking goes down in Google searches, and when people do search you, if you have a 3.9 instead of a 5-star rating, they're going to be less likely to click to book. So after a little research, I realized that our reputation management company had shuttered without even telling us. So the first thing I did was call accounts payable to make sure we were not paying them, because that would have been a big upset. And then I called Paige, who you just referred to, and I said, I can get on some calls and start vetting out some new companies. But in the meantime, until we're ready to work with someone else, we need a game plan. And I suggested a couple things to her, and she said, you know what, Anita, why don't we just ask our team? Just ask them if they can ask their guests to rate and review us. And I was like, okay, well, do we want to offer a coupon? And she said, no, let's just see how it works out. So initially, the first step I did was, we have 4 locations, like you said. I had one-on-ones with each of our location managers, and I explained the situation, and they really enjoyed seeing me ask for help, I think, because I never usually ask for help. I'm the one who is always there, being their cheerleader and figuring out what next cool thing we could do. But I looked them in the eyes and I said, I really need your help getting your team on board with this. Can you help me facilitate asking people for Google reviews after their service? And they said, of course. So they took it to their teams during the team meeting. In the meantime, I also wrote a script, because we all know how some stylists don't like talking to their guests at all. So I figured if I actually scripted this out for them, it would be an easy way for them to utilize it. And I posted that in our employee Facebook. And I was very real with our employees too. I said, I really need your help. This is really detrimental to our social media and our media outreach because it's all digital nowadays. So would you guys try asking your guests if they're enjoying their service, if they could hop on Google and review us? And when I say I was shocked by the response I received, that is just putting it at a minimum, because within 72 hours, we had increased our outreach by 44%. One senior stylist alone had received 33 Google reviews. She, not only did she, I learned this later because I was telling our team that we had told this story in Chicago. Not only did she ask her guests, she said, hey, will you ask, your mom and sister or brother to review them too? So she was getting 5 reviews from one guest at a time. So we literally went from a 3.9 rating back up to a 4.9. No, it was a 3.7 back up to a 4.9 within 3 weeks. It was really incredible. And we kept the momentum and the fire up. And one of the things that I did was I continued to mention this on our biweekly calls. Remember, we really need this. But what encouraged the team the most, we would go through and grab the reviews and screenshot them and put them on our story on Facebook and Instagram. And that public recognition was something that really inspired other people to get involved, because everybody wants those warm fuzzies and to feel good and to showcase that their guests are proud and they love the way they look. So once I started doing that and tagging the other accounts, it increased even more. And we do have a company that we work with that does help manage our reviews now, but we have never seen higher ratings than what we did when we did this organically. And another benefit of doing it this way is that Google can recognize if your surveys are being pushed through from your point of sale system or another reputation management company. So since this was all organic traffic, you can't even pay for that nowadays. So it was something simple and easy that I hope everyone who sat in my small group in Chicago and everybody here in this Zoom today can go back and take to their team, because it really was phenomenal. And our team continues to do it. We always mention it and we still share our reviews, and people just get so excited about it.
Anita, you're amazing. Just like Tammy and Kevin, this is amazing. So I don't know if anybody else wants to is thinking of this, but the script. What do you have that handy or memorized or?
I can summarize it, and
Please.
Obviously it was just kind of like, you can tell by somebody's face, and just they said, I really loved what I did with your hair. How do you feel about it? And once they were able to articulate it, the stylist would then follow up with, what would really help me is if you could jump on Google and give us a review. Because also at the time we were coming off of COVID and a lot of people are still struggling. And many guests asked already, what can we do to help you? And so instead of, here's my Venmo account, people were asking for the Google, but we wanted to make sure that it was going to be a good review first. So that was a little key component. And we complimented them on the way they looked. And that's when you followed up. What would really help us is if you hopped on Google. And I did do the step-by-step directions. So enter into the search bar, Modern Salon and Spa, click the 5 stars, because even it varies. You can have a 35-year-old who has never reviewed anybody on Google, or a 68-year-old who doesn't even know how to find the web browser on their phone. So I did write down those directions so it would help explain to anybody how to just hop on and do a review.
All right. So how do we do this? So I type on Modern Salon and Spa. which I've
Mhm.
just done. Okay. And
I picked up my phone when you were saying that because I'm so used to it.
all right.
And then you type on the stars, and it should.
I'm going to indulge the whole group here, and we're gonna do this with your permission. Okay, so here I search.
Absolutely.
Yep. Now what do I do?
So actually, you don't have your ads up on the side.
All right. Well, anyway, listen.
Like click Philip's Place. Actually,
What's that?
it should prompt you if you click Philip's Place.
Okay. Sorry, I pulled an audible on you here. All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's our new website that I just launched too. So it
Well,
actually was a direct link.
It looks beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to do it from my phone to see if I can.
You know what?
Remember
I pull an audible on you here. I'm sorry, and sorry to the whole group here.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
No. Well, you know what? I think my search is not set up. Normally, it puts off when I do it on my phone on the side. I can do it, but for some reason on my when I do it on my Mac here, it doesn't come up. So forgive me, everybody, for going offline there. Anita, this is really it's very simple. It really doesn't cost anything, right? And the algorithms can see that this is a genuine review. To your point, not that using a service isn't a genuine review, but they can cut through and see that this is coming from a genuine human to human ask. So
Yes.
it's really a double ask. What you really did is you modeled by asking your team, you modeled how they can also ask their guests. So I love this. It's great. I'm looking at the clock here. You anything else that you feel is really important to share on this topic?
Well, just piggybacking off of what you said, because it obviously is different from a web browser, and I just pulled it up on my phone. I think that must have been a key too, to ask the guest while they were still in the chair to do it, because then you can do it automatically and it goes straight through.
Well, yes.
The other thing I would mention too is I really got our senior stylists on board, and I've noticed that juniors and assistants really, they do follow lead. So to get some of those seasoned professionals to do this, it let them know, okay, I can try to do this and I can do it too. And people do, they follow those leaders within your salon. And it was really meaningful to me because I work remotely most of the time. And I think if you create a company culture where if you ask for help, people want to help, that's a big plus too. And it almost became a game within our company because everybody was so excited, and just everybody's spirits were high, and it was really fun.
Well, so the other thing I heard from you is that repetition, that this just wasn't one, you're constantly reminding them of this. And you're making sure that it continues. It's not just this initial push and then it becomes like everything else. So you've been able to keep the momentum, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I include it on every agenda for any meeting we have. Sometimes it probably annoys my bosses. And then I mention it on every phone call or any one-on-one I have. Because 9 times out of 10, if somebody's struggling, chances are they haven't been reviewed in a while. So it's something easy, and it's something to keep at the forefront of their brain. And to me, practice makes perfect. So continue to remind and repeat and practice.
Yeah. Well, I love this. And, the power of ask. I mean, we had a program we did many years ago, and it was it was a mini course. It was called Ask. And it was all about referrals and the importance of that ask, how to ask, when to ask, what to say, what not to ask. Because it's the same thing with referrals. Referrals are going to come through search, and certainly the importance of these ratings. And they're also going to come from asking the guests directly for referrals. So maybe you should do that next, is turn this into a referral type program.
Absolutely. I know our salon will like that.
I want to make sure I got the metrics. Did you say you went from a 3.7 to a 4.9?
We did. And I haven't checked it today because, as you know, those things can change overnight. But I was starting to get really nervous when I saw the downtick, and it only takes, one bad review for your ratings to go down. So it's very important that everyone continues to watch where they are rated as well.
Well, that's another thing, is just to watch, stay on top of it, because it really makes a big impact. All right, Kevin said a best practice for us is to put the reviews on Instagram stories, tag the artist, and save to our review highlight. So,
and that is exactly what we did. And like I said, when the other stylists started seeing people with these amazing reviews, they wanted in on the action too. So they started using that script and asking people to review as well. And then they would see their name on the stories.
You also had another share. I'm looking at the clock, and it had to do with organically getting micro influencers without paying them. We don't have time for that full share, but can you give us just a quick tease, and maybe we'll have you come back in a future week? What is that about?
It was a really fun one. So I have learned that influencers or creators are kind of difficult to work with. So I didn't want to really work with somebody with a lot of demands, I guess you could say. So we developed a technique where we search out micro influencers, which are influencers within our community that have the highest engagement and influence directly in the Charlotte and Huntersville area. So they're about 3,000 to 5,000 followers. And we figured out a way to use the power of ask and have them in the salon. And it worked. And we had some major publicity from it.
Nice. All right, we'll save that for another day. Welcome to the Brain Trust and your $1 million light bulb. Let's all give Anita a virtual round of applause. Michelle from our team put a little something in the chat there, 4 times 4 ways. That's a communication method that we recommend. And that's, in order for something to stick, repetition is so important. You got to communicate something 4 times 4 ways, which I think you're really building into your Ask program. So give Anita a shout out, guys, a virtual round of applause. Thank you, Anita. I very much appreciate it. And thanks to Paige. Say hi to Arsalan and Arzu. And we're so glad you joined us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed everything, and I love to share.
All right. Well, congratulations on the great work. All right. What do we have here left before we wrap up here? So we've had our 3 shares. They're welcome to the Brain Trust. Just a reminder, everybody needs a coach. Qnity in Action is our program. You can book a free coaching session. You could use the QR code there. That will take you to a place where you can book some complimentary coach on the different gaps and how to fill the gaps. We're super excited about our new money course, which is currently available for students. And what I want to say about that is we will have a money course for pros, professionals, in the second quarter of next year at the latest. Reminder, we've got a school roundtable coming up. This was part 1 of some of the 2 to 10 highlights from our conversation starters. We'll be peppering those in over a few future weeks. I also had the privilege of doing a main stage presentation on Monday in New York at the Intercoiffure event. It was a great event. It was wonderful to see so many leaders in the industry gather and share. And my topic was a career in beauty. And we shared, in the absence of information, people make up their own stories. Went through different stories. For example, the story of Adam, who was an entrepreneur, who moved out of state, left his job, and decided he'd become a solopreneur. He really just loved doing hair. And as a solopreneur, he found out that not only his love of hair still was there, but he was spending a lot more time inventory and booking appointments. He had to buy insurance, pay rent, enforcing policies with clients and taxes. And so it's really pointing out the difference between a solopreneur and an entrepreneur. So that can be a topic for a future week here, is preneurship. Closing thoughts. What I loved about these shares today is knowing's not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. And I think the consistency that we heard from Tammy and Kevin and Anita is they took action. They're doing things in these different functions between human capital, education, and marketing. So great shares. And I love this quote here, and I'll end with this. The reason many don't achieve their goals is because the final result is not clear in their mind. In the case of Anita, it was a very clear final result. They wanted their Google ratings to go up, and they took action. Tammy wanted to address issues with her team, and she took action, and she was very clear with what she wanted. And same with Kevin. So it starts with a great intent, and then also starts with action. I remember in the very first probably 20 episodes of these roundtables, we talked about hope plus action, and that still lives. It's not just about hope, and it's not just about intention, but it's going from knowing to doing. So we hope you had some light bulb moments today. I am going to see who's with us today, and I might just give a couple little shout outs here. Let's see what's going on over there. Next week. Oh, Michelle, thank you. Next week, we have a story about a successful transition. We have Phil Shipman and we have Josh Beatty with us, and they're going to go through a transition from owner to key employee, where Josh went from an entrepreneur now to an entrepreneur. So that is going to be fun. Looking forward to it. And that is all I got for you. Oh, it's 11 o'clock on the dot, so I've got to end. Bye, everybody. Thank you. I didn't have time to give shout outs to all the participants. Hello, guys. So great to see all of you, and we will see you next week. Bye now.